Which two Georgia Bulldogs need to have breakout years? We're going to go offense and defense. We're going to go Dean Legge, Matt DeBerry, Dean Legge, Matt DeBerry. I said it twice just for fun. Go over to dogpost.com, dawgpost.com. Matt, let's start on defense. We can think about offense just for a little bit. It's Nolan, right? Nolan Smith. Let's talk about it.
Has to be Nolan. Is the guy who I still consider one of the top 10 high school football prospects that I've seen since I've been doing this. We saw him at the True 19 game. We saw him lots of different camps, combines. I saw him play live on a Friday night, multiple Friday nights. We know what he can do. He is explosive. There's a reason he was the number one prospect in the country. I never agreed with the number one spot. I thought he was an easy 5-star, but he does lack ideal size. And I think that has kind of slowed him down somewhat. But 2 years in, he's made, he's flashed. He hasn't loaded up the stat sheet, but he's made somewhat of an impact. But he can get swallowed up a little bit in the run game on the edge, getting off blocks from bigger, stronger offensive tackles. So this is the year, if he wants to play at the next level too, Dean, and make some money playing on Sundays, he really has to show out and have a big junior season. And if he does, Georgia's defense is only going to get better. But if Georgia does want to make a national championship run, this is one of the guys who has to step up and be that 5-star number one recruit that we saw coming out of high school.
Yeah, you look at this, when I'm looking over to the right-hand side over here, I'm always looking at the board. And when you look at the offense, the defensive line at Georgia, it really is very good. And I'm not even thinking about Nolan. You got Devontae Wyatt, you've got Jordan Davis, Trey Walker, Carter. I wouldn't necessarily put Stackhouse in front of Nolan, but it is a group that he could be forgotten about in. And it's time for Nolan to have the type of year that I think he could have, which is as an explosive playmaking edge guy. Maybe easier said than done. I don't know. There's a lot of snaps that you really have to compete for at Georgia, particularly in this front seven. But, Matt, if he had 6 sacks on the year, to me, that would be breakout. That's a lot of production for a guy who, at first it really did look like he and Trayvon Walker were going to be nothing but trouble for people. But he regressed in 2020, man. It wasn't as good.
Yeah, he's still just a pass rusher, really. He's got to be a more complete, 3-down guy that they can leave in there and, rely on him to stop the run and hold the edge when they need to. He can't just come in on 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and get after the passer. When you're the number one recruit in the country, when you're a 5-star, you're supposed to be able to do it all, not just play in situations. So I think you could put Adam Anderson up there too. He had more sacks last year, but this is his 4th year, Dean. If he wants to be a high draft pick next year, he needs to step his game up to another level as well. Kirby talked about him playing the star position. If he can, show teams that he can cover some tight ends and make some consistent tackles in the open field, I think he's going to have a big year and could climb up some draft boards. But those two guys really stand out on defense.
The thing about the draft is, franchises are looking for value, as much value as they can get for the particular pick that they're making. First round, Adam Anderson, Nolan Smith, I don't see it. But, from that point backwards, you really could get value. When you look at Aziz and what happened with him over a 2-year period to go from a 4-star guy who didn't play a lot, was coming off an ACL injury, to a top 50 pick, you can quickly get the attention of scouts who are at practices. They were not this past year, but who are at practices typically at Georgia, Clemson, Florida, Florida State. That these are guys that you're getting seen all the time. So every practice rep matters a lot, etc. So I do think Nolan could certainly make a move. I think it might be too late for a 1st-round move. But hey, prove me wrong, Nolan. I'm not hating here. I'm just saying what it is. Now, Matt, offensively, there's probably a few more guys you could look at. Who would you go with who needs to have a breakout year?
I want to say Xavier Truss for multiple reasons. I think if he's able to lock down that left tackle spot, that is going to do wonders for the Georgia offense. You can move Jamari Sawyer in at left guard, where he projects, the best and will probably play at the next level. So him stepping up and being their left tackle and solidifying that position is going to go a long way. But the easy answer, I think, is the guy that we both like, and that's Kendall Milton.
See, man. We didn't talk about this beforehand. I actually think your Xavier Truss is the smart, like intelligent pick.
Yeah.
But on the Kendall Milton deal, there are a lot of people in the league that do not want to see him getting going, and they're
Yeah.
they're they're worried about him. I mean, you hear comparisons to Todd Gurley, and I mean, I always compared him as a shorter Derrick Henry. But whatever it is, he's a bruising back. He got banged up at the wrong time, I think, against Florida. You look back at that Florida game, man. I mean, they were out a lot of guys after a while. Jordan Davis played in that game. Richard LeCount was out. Kendall Milton gets banged up. Obviously, Stetson, who was a starting quarterback, goes out 14
Rosemead.
nothing. Yeah, Marcus. So you've got a lot of guys that started missing that game. But Kendall Milton is a guy that if he has a breakout year, we already know what James Cook can do. We know what Zamir can do. We know what Kenny McIntosh can do. You don't want Kendall Milton being the lead. I mean, if Kendall Milton's got 800 yards rushing, that means Georgia's just probably scoring a pile of points. I also, dude, man, I think you still could go with Blaylock as a guy having a breakout year. But I think the smart sort of football intelligence would be Xavier Truss because it does
Yeah.
set your line. I don't know who the answer is. I think
Yeah.
Xavier Truss could be the best answer.
I think if the breakout guy is Darnell Washington, the offense is going to be fun to watch. If we finally talk about the tight ends getting more involved, and if he has a big year and becomes a big red zone option, I mean, why wouldn't he? 6'7.5". If I'm calling plays and we're inside the 10-yard line, almost every drive, I'm saying let's throw one up to Big Darnell out there, get him in one-on-one coverage, not even from the tight end spot, but flex him out. So I think there's a lot of creative ways that Georgia is going to try to use him, and that's going to open up Georgia's offense even more. But if Warren McClendon can keep playing well and progressing at right tackle, you find a solid center. Whoever wins that job should be a veteran guy at this point, Erickson or one of the younger guys like Van Pran. But left tackle is so important, and if Xavier Truss can be that guy and say, okay, I'm winning this job, this is mine, figure out what you want to do with Jamari, the offensive line is going to be strong. It's not one of the strengths of the team, but it's going to be one of the best in the conference again, I feel like.
Well, but with Jamari, you want him inside. I mean, I don't think he's a tackle. It's just what it is, and I think he could be a very good guard. And so
I saw him. I saw him at tackle during the Under Armour camps and the opening camps and all that. And, I remember him beating a couple guys, some to the ground at tackle, and he's yelling at him, "I'm a guard too, and I'm a guard doing that." So
he's a guard, yeah.
Yeah, that's where he wants to be, and he knows that his best football is probably there.
Well, if you're Xavier, okay, and you're as big as you are, and you're having this opportunity, they're not just giving you the opportunity, man. I mean, like they're wanting you to be the guy.
Yeah.
And not only that, I mean, you also have Mims, Morris. I mean, you got guys coming up that are going to try to take that spot. Warren McClendon I don't know this, but you would imagine he at some stage will get a crack at left tackle. The question is when. And I think they would prefer it not be this season. I mean, if Truss nails that down, Matt, there's not a lot more to sort of, quote, figure out about this Georgia offense. I think it'll be Warren Erickson, would be my guess, at center. Because, man, listen, you got Schaefer still. You still have Schaefer. Yeah. Okay, so you got Schaefer, Jamari, Erickson. You have Truss, McClendon. And then you still have Broderick, Mims, Ratledge, Van Pran. I'm not even mentioning people that are solid prospects, particularly inside, not at tackle. Fairchild is going to play, I think, at some stage here in the first 12 games at Georgia. He just might not be a guy that gets in there until the second, his second team. Yeah. But Broderick Jones was getting the second team. I mean, there's no
Tate Ratledge, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being on second team as a true freshman, okay. And I speak from some experience with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And if they could just set their left tackle, Kendall Milton will take care of himself. I do think, Matt, and I'll throw it back to you. Kendall is poised to have a really good year, but Zamir knows what he's doing. James Cook is a different type of back. They've got a pile of weapons. I know Georgia's out, but they've got a pile of weapons on this team, man.
Yeah, Zamir and James came back for a reason. They didn't come back to see Kendall Milton get more carries than they. So Zamir is going to be the guy who I think gets the most carries and the most yards. Kendall Milton may have more carries than James Cook, but James Cook is going to have more touches. He's going to get more opportunities. And if they really, really need, someone to make a play, then I think James Cook is in there. But if you're looking to move the chains, wear down a defense, and hopefully break a couple tackles and take it to the house, towards the end of the first half or towards the end of the game, it's going to be tough to keep a guy like Kendall Milton on the bench. I mean, it's fun to watch guys run by dudes, but Kendall Milton is going to lower his shoulder and he's looking to run guys over, and that's fun football to watch. And it's successful football when you're trying to wear down a defense and eat some clock, and that's exactly what he can do.
So, this is not the 2017 running back room, but it's not. I mean, so there are probably not 3 top 50 picks, but this is a really good running backs room, and Kendall really helps with that. Let's talk about this more over on dawgpost.com, dawgpos.com. We'll see you over on the website.